Gamers, it's time for the final video of the year. Are you excited? I'm not. But let's get it over with, shall we? No, I'm not in any negative way about it. Okay, so December. It always feels like each month feels like a decade in itself for some reason this year. So only 4 games on the list this time. We've got Fallout 4, continuing my playthrough from last month. We're streaming that, basically just sort of impatiently awaiting the Path of Exile 2 Druid update. It's still a crap game. That's the long and skinny of it. It's... how do I put this? Let's try an unarmed build, which is something I do like in each of the Fallout games at some point. I say each of the Fallout games like I've played anything other than 3 and V and 4, although I do have one that I got on giveaway some time ago that I keep being like, oh, I'm going to play it, but I never got around to it. I should get around to it. My first playthrough is going to be with energy weapons, of course, and maybe unarmed if it's in Fallout 1. I don't know if it is. Anyway, unarmed damage is an absolute hecking joke. Like, it's really, really bad. To put things into perspective, it's the only weapon type you can't use in armor. Which is absolutely hilarious because Bethesda, I believe, are the ones that invented the Power Fist for Fallout, and they put it in specifically to look good with power armor. I'm gonna adjust my mic a bit. There we go. They made it to specifically look good with power armor, and it just doesn't look good with power armor in Fallout 4, and you can't use it with the power armor. Why? I don't know. Bethesda is kind of a mess nowadays, if you all know. Like, they don't use design documents anymore. The lead writer is nincompoop. I don't mean disrespect, but, like, the guy really doesn't have a very deep view of the world. Everything he sees is very surface level. He's not very smart. And I don't mean that in an insulting way, but more of an observational, factual way. And I'm drinking some eggnog that's been spiked with some rum and whiskey. It's rather good. It's got a hint of peppermint to it. It's New Year's Eve, after all. What do you mean it's the morning? Anyway. Fallout 4, it just does not feel good. People go on about, like, oh yeah, the writing's crap, but the gunplay's fun. It absolutely isn't. It feels very bad. Like, very bad. And people praise the modding system. All the modding system is just upgrading the damage you do with your weapon. It is very, very extremely rare for anything that you mod with the weapons to actually be a modification and not just a straight upgrade of numbers. Oh, you can have the a long barrel on the Western revolver to add extra damage, or you can have the longer barrel to do even more damage, or you can have the longest revolver or barrel to do even more damage. It's like, that's not modifications, that's just upgrading the damage you're dealing. It's not intuitive, it's not good, it doesn't feel fun, it feels like a fucking chore. And if you don't invest into crafting perks, in quotation marks, you're going to have a bad time. And the game does not allow you to have a real build going. Like, they can try to lie through their teeth and say that you do. The whole way, you don't. In Fallout 3 in New Vegas, if I wanted to be able to be like Mr. Thief Man and put all my points into science and lockpicking and sneak, so I can get into anywhere and steal anything, I could do that. You can't do that in Fallout 4. You can put 1 point into any of the skills at the get-go, which is a cool idea. But then they level gate every other one. So let's say you want to be a master armor smith man. Have fun getting to level 40. You want a jetpack. Have fun getting to level 48. And also you need to have 4 points into strength at least. And I think 6 points into intelligence, at least. And you can level up your basic stats with level as well. They call them perk points, but it's not really a perk anymore. The design of the game, for me to best describe it, is like they didn't design the game with perks in mind. They designed it so that you have all of these abilities, but they sectioned them off so that you can only use one more ability per level. So there's just an arbitrary level gate for a lot of things, which is why people tend to start the game off just building shelves for an hour, because that gives you plenty of XP. The game is fundamentally flawed in like nearly every regard. And if people like the gunplay, that's an opinionated thing. I think it's bad. There's barely any guns to work with, and they all feel the fucking same, with the only difference being numbers. Like, they don't feel like their own things. It's like, do you want shoot gun or spray gun? Congratulations! That's all the weapons in the game. Oh, except for melee, and unarmed doesn't even count. Throw that in the bin. It's just there because so they can say it's there, even though it will never ever do damage. And that's mostly because of the system they have, where you can only put a perk into it like every 10 levels, which is absolutely ridiculous. Melee feels really fucking bad in Fallout 4. Like, really bad. The only time it can be overpowered, but you have to use the perks for using VATS. I'm thinking specifically the perk that you do more damage, and you have extra range to use melee and VATS, and you do more damage to more range that you use it at. And you can just absolutely splatter things at that point. You are unstoppable if you use that. But otherwise, melee feels pretty damn bad when you have this giant hulking hammer And a guy with a pole cue can just deflect your attack. That is dumb. That should never happen. It just feels bad. I mean, it can kind of happen inside of like the older games as well, but not to the degree that it does in Fallout 4. Also, the enemies in Fallout 4 are some of the dumbest fucking things I've ever seen. I'm not saying that like New Vegas and Fallout 3 were like super smart or anything, but they felt like they had more awareness of the world around them and attacked accordingly. Whereas in Fallout 4, their bones disjoint as they shoot over and around things, and it's like really annoying. It's really weird looking, and it again just feels bad. I don't like it, even if you use like an overpowered build, like if you go all in on heavy guns and get the Eternus from Nuka World, and just you can raise everything to the ground with no ammo cost. It still feels bad. It does not feel satisfying. And speaking of New Vegas, I also went and played that. I finished my 1 int 10 strength playthrough that I started a long while ago. I put it down after some time because I got the perk Them's Good Eatins. I should probably scoot up closer to the mic. I'm a little too far back. Anyways, Them's Good Eatins is a... If you want your New Vegas journey to be easy peasy lemon cheesy, you get that perk. It makes it to where all enemies, like, I don't remember if robots can have it. I don't think robots can. But every other kind of enemy can drop blood sausage and thin red paste. Both of which are insane healing items with no downsides. They're extremely light in your inventory. They heal you a good bit for a long while. And they have a high value that you can sell them for. If you want your playthrough to get absolutely broken, get that perk. If you don't want to have the game become way too damn easy, don't get that perk. That's just a PSA from old Meow. Yeah, I put down the game after I got it because the game just felt a little too easy, but yeah, there aren't as many stupid person lines as I was hoping there would be. I know that's because they had to cut a lot of things due to time restrictions because they basically knocked out the game in a year. And Bethesda stiffed them on the bill. They also took, I think they said 6 months or 9 months to get them the source code while working on New Vegas, because as they were originally working on the game, they were basically having to use the creation kit that comes with the games. So essentially it was an official mod to begin with, which is quite tumultuous and does feel like Bethesda was trying to set them up for failure, but ultimately failed to make them fail. But still fucked them over by not paying them the bonus they were promised. And I do suspect foul play, but let's not go into crackpot theories, shall we? Again, innocent until proven guilty kind of deal. But they look pretty sus to me. New Vegas is good fun. I do find it weird in the DLCs, Lonesome Road and Old World Blues. They have like alternatives to the minigun, but both alternatives are like kind of worse than the minigun. That doesn't stop me from using the shoulder-mounted machine gun, though. Tell you what does stop me from using the K9000, and that's the rarity of the bullets. It's hard to find Magnum bullets, and it uses them. I don't know why, because it doesn't have Magnum power. It feels like a totally worse, bad version of the minigun, with the only exception is that it has a funny doggo brain inside, and it will growl when enemies are nearby. And it'll whimper if you swap weapons. So I guess style over substance in a way. But it's the thing that kills it is that it uses .357 Magnum rounds to fire. And it does less damage and fires much slower than a minigun. And the ammo is far more expensive, harder to find, and overall, yada yada yada. It's not impossible to find, but it's just like, for something that's like a spray and pray, it doesn't really feel grand. And the mounted shoulder cannon, it's better than the K9000, but still not as good as the minigun. The minigun will just kill anything, and its ammo is cheap and easy to find. The shoulder-mounted cannon uses 10mm rounds. Not as plentiful as 5mm that the minigun uses. But that's in part because the game expects you to use a lot of 5mm rounds for obvious reasons, because it goes to the minigun. And the 10mm are supposed to be used for like sidearms, so you can still find plenty of it, but not as much. But that said, it's a decent gun. It doesn't have much kickback, I think, is really a big benefit of using it, is that it's pretty stable compared to a minigun, which is very much more a big spray and pray, but I guess for taking down like a bigger target like a Deathclaw, the minigun is superior, but for like infantry and like ghouls and stuff, the shoulder-mounted cannon probably gets you more bang for your buck. Pun intended. It doesn't fire as fast, and it does roughly the same damage per bullet, I feel. Something like that, I'd have to look. At that point, it didn't really matter because I was level 50, and I had 100 in guns anyway. I think the thing that as the K9000 has over the minigun is that it uses less. You need less gun skills in order to use it at its full potential, because the minigun requires 100 if I remember right. But New Vegas, pretty dang fun. I had to. It's like very crash prone nowadays. Like, it's funny because like when it first came out, the game was very crash prone. Then after like some amount of updates, for a while there, the game was pretty stable. But nowadays, it's pretty crash prone again. And I feel like that's on Microsoft, because the Windows updates kind of fuck with Bethesda's games at times. Like I think it was last year, there was a bug with the Windows update that pretty much broke every single Bethesda game, where you could no longer play them. And then they had to rush out an emergency patch for Windows to fix that specifically. Microsoft is an absolute headache, I tell you. So, what I was really playing for the majority of December, though, Path of Exile 2. The Druid update has finally hit the fan. The fan is me, by the way. It hit me. And I love the Druid. He gets, like, shape-shifting abilities as well as plant magic. I plan on doing a playthrough with a plant wizard sometime in the future, but not right now. I went with dedicating to shape-shifting for my first druid here. And it's pretty fun. You can turn into a bear, a werewolf, or a wyvern. And I am mostly wyvern. A bear I kind of turn into for the funsies from time to time. But the wyvern is where it's at for me. It gets like oil spit that if you have power charges becomes like a lightning barf. You can jump up in the air and do a flame breath attack that's extremely overpowered, but I love it. A friend of mine, Captain Raiden, has been making a very correct build that does currently over 2 million DPS with his flame breath that he's been doing. It's a lot of fun. I'm not gonna lie. I'm, of course, not sponsored by Path of Exile, but I do highly recommend, if you like things like Diablo 2 and whatnot, because that's basically what the game is. It's just a Diablo-like, but it's a good Diablo. I am feeling myself sort of winding down, and I gotta clean the kitchen to make sure I'm ready for frying chicken tonight. So I'll move on to the last thing, because I only played 4 games this month, really. Although I do plan on playing a new one tonight, Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart, because I nabbed it because it's on sale for like 20-ish bucks, and which is like the price I've paid for every Ratchet & Clank game ever. But Dark Souls 2. I've been playing through it again because I just kind of felt like it. I've been in a depressive funk, and it's something I don't really have to think too much about. People like to crap on the game a lot for some reason, but it's really not a bad game. Not in the slightest. Is it the odd one out of the Souls series? Absolutely. But it's a very experimental game. I feel like people, instead of copying the attitude of, this game bad, they should cop the attitude of, this game's a curiosity. Like, let's look at what happened and see what it's like. Like, it's not the best the Soul series have to offer, but it's also not the worst. Night Rain! They did a lot of experimentation with the game. Some of it good, some of it not so good. But if you've noticed, the Souls games following Dark Souls 2 they have been adopting things from Dark Souls 2 that people kind of just overlook. And it's not that Dark Souls 2 did things bad, they just did them different. Like, some things are obviously kind of meh. Like the adaptability thing that people always go to. Yes, it's the go-to. It makes things a little not clear on what's going to connect or not at times. And just basically being that it's not really clear, you can't really see what agility's actually doing for you. That people kind of just didn't care about agility despite it being one of the most important stats in the game. And I think that's one of the things that separates the people who enjoy Dark Souls 2 and the people that think Dark Souls 2 is trash. Because in all my playthroughs, I always put points into adaptability, because higher item speed use, because using Estus without adaptability kind of feels pretty bad. But you don't need to use it. You can use like life gems if you want to have a more stable sort of recovery. The downside that it's a gradual recover rather than a nearly instant one like Estus would be. Basically, it kind of has like each of the healing items has their own uses, and people are like, "Oh, life gems makes Dark Souls too easy." I feel like there's a few other things that make Dark Souls 2 a little bit on the easy side, and life gems is not one of them. Do they make the game easier? Yes, but like, not everyone uses life gems as much as people claim. It's like, oh, it ruins the balance of the game. No. They made it to where, like, life gems and Estus are supposed to be used in their own particular instances. Like, Estus you should use when it's safe to use. Life gems can be used more easily in a pinch. But Estus is more powerful than a life gem. And people also like to go, oh, about life gems. You can take them when you're expecting to take a hit, and it'll keep recovering. But the same thing happens with Estus too, so can't really make that argument. I don't feel like Dark Souls 2 is really all that bad. People complain about a lot of things, but a lot of the people I see complain about the game do wild things, like trying to run through an area, ignoring all the enemies, like they're trying to do a speed run. And it's generally a bad idea, because if you do that, well, you're going to eat shit and die, and that's always what happens, and they're like, oh, bad game. It's like, no, you just got skill issued. If you want to see someone actually play through the game that's actually masterful, look up Otstarva. He does a lot of Dead by Daylight stuff, but he also does Souls games. And he's like one of the best Dark Souls 2 players in the world. I believe he got the first or the second ever level 1 hitless all boss runs in DS2. It's been a while, I'd have to look. I know he and some other guy were like neck and neck trying to go for it. But in my headset turning itself off because I haven't had music playing. Back on. Anyway. I know I'm talking about when people complain about the game a lot, but that's mostly what you hear. I like the game. It's got its own charm. There are quirks to it that, well, really, they're just quirks. I don't really know how to describe it. It's like, it feels weird because it's a game that really shouldn't be disparaged like it is, but I don't really feel like I really need to defend it either. It's an odd game. It is my third favorite behind Elden Ring and Dark Souls 1. I put the game at like a B tier. And if you're wondering what my other rankings are, DS1 and Elden Ring are A tier, DS2 is B tier, C tier is Bloodborne, Demon Souls, Dark Souls 3 in that order from best to worst, and in F- tier is Night Rain. Though I struggle to call that one as Souls-like, or a Souls game. I know some people consider Sekiro a Souls game. It's not a Souls game. It's just an action game. It's a good action game, but it's not a Souls game. Night Rain, though, it doesn't really play like most Souls games, but it takes place in Elden Ring, which is the thing that makes me go, do we count this? I mean, it even has bosses from other Souls games. Like, I fought Duke's Freya in the last time I played the game. I know the Unnamed King is in there, and the Centipede Demon, always known as Soilalin Goilalin, or something like that. Shout out to Prod. Anyway, Dark Souls 2. It's a decent game. Would I recommend people start playing the games with it? No. I would either recommend either Dark Souls 1 or Elden Ring or Demon Souls if they want to do it from release order, which I kind of recommend people do if they want to be immersed in the series. But if it's just someone who isn't like a gamer, Dark Souls 1 or Elden Ring would be the best way. I feel like Elden Ring is probably the most accessible, not just because it's the one released on all the current systems, but because it's very easy to get into for a newcomer to the Souls games. You have a lot of freedom in where you go, what you can collect, and how to play. If there's a boss you don't like, you can generally skip it. I think the only mandatory bosses, ignoring glitches, is Morgott and Godfrey and Leyendell, and Fire Giant, and Grunk in Crumbling Fire Missoula. And of course, the guys in the Ashen Capital. So, what's his name? Gideon. My favorite thing to do with Gideon, use the Madness skill where you grab someone and then you just afflict them with madness and lots of frenzy damage. Just do that, keeping him in a stun lock. He stands no chance. Then you fight the real Godfrey, and then what you call it? Radagon and the Elden Beast. Those are the only mandatory bosses. Everything else is like pick and choose. So if someone's really struggling with a boss and they don't want to summon help, they can just go somewhere else. There's a lot of... most of the game is optional. That's kind of the beauty of Elden Ring. Anyhow, that's going to do it for this month. I need to go prepare for making fried chicken. I also need to put this nog in the fridge so it can be chilled for tonight, where I will really start drinking. Anyhow, thank you all for sticking with me in 2025. See you in 2026, where I will probably be giving my opinions on Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart. And see everyone's favorite waifu Lombax, and that's the only thing I know about the game. Nobody's has ever said anything about if the game was actually good or not. They're just horny for the Lombax. Anyways, love y'all. Bye-bye!